The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Before we join Jerry Corsi, last night, the State of the Union speech, and he starts talking about the barkeep, and he swings into how he was raised by a single mother, and that was at the beginning of the speech, and I sat straight up. If you would...
The son of the barkeep is Speaker of the House. How the son of a single mom can be president of the greatest nation on earth.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please say good morning. And again, I have this handful of people who have made this radio show what it is and made this show successful. PhD, Dr. Jerry Corsi, Harvard PhD, writer, investigative reporter, longtime friend. And we are going to talk about a couple of different things. But with you right there right now, when I heard that, that really is even a slap in the face of his own official story of being 2.5 or, 2 3/4 and going to the airport to say goodbye to Daddy. So according to the official story, he's not raised by a single mother until, he's 2.5, pushing 3, Jerry?
That's right. And I was floored by it, too. I mean, Barack Obama reinvents his biography on the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, suddenly what happened to the Kenyan Obama? They just kind of dropped him out.
Mm.
Of course, Obama says, he's okay, now single mom, so he now admits the parents weren't married and that they never lived together. That's what the INS said.
Mm-hmm.
And, Obama told his publicist for years that he was born in Kenya and had brochures published to advertise his books saying Kenyan-born Barack Obama.
I was thinking, and I was, I'm not any good at this, but I was trying to timeline it. So how old is Barack, forget about a last name, when Stanley Ann, forget about a last name, meets Lolo Sotero?
Well, he's, by 4 years old, they're headed to Indonesia, so he must have been in his maybe 3 years old.
All right.
Right about 3 years old, probably.
Right, so there's no single mother then either. She's now married.
She got married again. She was, right, exactly. I mean, the truth is, Obama, in one of his moments in Dreams of My Father, where he's lucid, he says he never found a marriage certificate for his mother and the Kenyan. Nobody's ever found that marriage certificate. The INS, the Immigration Naturalization Service, in 1961 said there is no evidence that Barack Obama Sr. and Ann Dunham were married. They did not believe this was Barack Obama Sr.'s child, and that they were going to contest it if the Kenyan tried to use this as an excuse to extend his visa stay.
So now so far he is never without a father. Then at one point, I guess, and maybe we'll never know, Stanley Ann, for whatever reasons, doesn't want him with her in Jakarta. And that leads into that Sui Baka moment.
Yes.
And they, in essence, ship him, I think he's 7 or 8, and they ship him back.
Maybe not even that old.
Okay, fair enough. All right, fair enough.
Yeah, and they ship him alone on an airplane back from Indonesia
to Gramps and Toot,
to Hawaii, where he moves in and starts being raised by his grandparents.
Yeah. So, and they send him to perhaps the most exclusive private school in Hawaii.
Yeah, he goes to Punahou. Nobody really knows how they pay for it. That's one of the great mysteries in this family.
It's suppressed, but take it that far, I don't see being raised by a single mother in any part of that, what was said last night.
He wasn't, because, Ann Dunham had divorced supposedly, and, the divorce papers there, of course, people do divorce people they're not married
exactly.
to. I mean,
happens all
common
the time.
Law marriages, there's other reasons to get it on the books that you're not married to this person.
Yeah.
And the divorce with Obama Sr. and then the marriage to Lolo Sotero in Ann Dunham's life occur very close together. So there's really no period of time when Barack Obama is raised by a single mom.
No.
He's raised by grandparents, yes. Grandparents alone raised him a lot.
Yeah, they were really, and taking him to see Frank Marshall Davis, and that by a single mom. And when I saw that last night, and I went, "What's this all about?"
I couldn't figure it out either. Why he went back to this raised by a single mom story. He's standing there as Barack Hussein Obama, and that's the name of the African, and he's just forgotten about him. Of course, Barack Hussein Obama, the Kenyan, neglected to mention the son on many of his visa applications. So, it's like these two really had zero relationship with each other. And I think biologically, and when you take a look at the evidence, the likelihood, he doesn't look anything at all like the Kenyan. Looks much more Indonesian than he does anything else.
Or fill in the blank.
Fill in the blank. I mean, this is a part of the problem, is I've always said that there is some deep birth mystery here in this family.
Agreed.
Something that was so horrible or terrible or needed to be covered up that the lies we get look like a intelligence disinformation story.
I mean, I last night, really, I settled in and, I'm laying on my couch. I got my cat with me, and that was just the opening line. And I sat up and I thought,
right.
Wow. And it's missed by everybody except for idiots like you and I. But I thought, well, that's a change in the story.
Well, actually, Peter, one of the earlier shows I did this morning, a radio show, mentioned it as well. So it was caught pretty generally across the country. Right. Again, Barack Obama, because I pointed out continuously that Barack Obama fabricates his past for his convenience.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
At the time.
Now, as you have done this wonderful work, and others have done all this great work, and Jason Kistner, and, of course, Nick Chase, and the amount of people now joining the investigative movement just exponentially grows larger. And we got to this point where, it's the broken record, but I don't know, 2.5, 3 years ago, maybe greater, when you were in Hawaii and you said, "Hey, Peter, there's another name here, Sui Barca." And you guys couldn't, if you guys weren't part of the show then, the things that were said about Jerry were unbelievable. And now, of course, the paperwork's there, and that name does appear. But now the release of the Obama long-form birth certificate came in 2011, and I think a lot of that was kicked over because Donald Trump, at the time, was thinking about running for president, and he was raising the birther issue. And he was called crazy. And remember all the nasty...
And also I had a book coming out in the next month.
That's right. And you had the book coming out. And the whole idea was gaining traction.
Of course.
So here comes this state health director who releases a long-form birth certificate that's really released on a PDF. You never see paperwork. You get a PDF. A commercial private sector attorney, a woman, on a night flight out of Hawaii, brings this PDF that in a very surprised moment, Barack Obama shows it to America. And it was enough for, I remember Mike Litwin, I remember all the Post and Rocky Mountain News people and Channel 9 people and everybody. Here it is, the answer to everything. And, of course, that's where it says father's race, African, and all the other crazy stuff. And my personal belief, and I'll turn it over to you to talk about this Loretta Fuddy's death, is this birth certificate was manufactured in Washington, D.C., by the guy that I call Jimmy down the hall. And it was never, the Hawaii thing was just a mask. It was a plane ride. So here we go. So now talk about Loretta Fuddy, if you would, Doctor.
And also I think Robert Bauer, the attorney from Perkins and Coy, who was up in Seattle, played a big role. He was in the White House. He was one of the fixers of this Obama birth lie from the very beginning. When Fuddy came into the Department of Health and certified this was Obama's birth certificate without showing the originals. We've still never seen original 1961 birth documents for Obama. And then she dies in this plane crash. Well, we find out a couple things. One, Loretta Fuddy's family does not believe she died a natural death because she had no history of heart ailments. She got out of the airplane that went down into the water. She had a life vest on. The trauma of the incident was largely, over the plane it was down and people were still alive. They got out. And it was when they got out and she's floating there, holding the hands of her coworker, that she suddenly drifts away. Well, the family does not believe that that was a natural cause. Secondly, the whole investigation into who Fuddy was, then this Subud, S-U-B-U-D group surfaces, which I had never heard of before, except that the Subud organization, which is a mystical Indonesian religion of a very small number of people, about 20,000 people worldwide, into this meditation, contact with God kind of belief. And Fuddy was evidently in Bellevue, Washington, the head of the Subud, and was also a practicing member in Honolulu, going back at least to 2000, because there's newspaper articles showing her picture meditating at Subud meetings. And then we get a look, so I started investigating who the Subud is, and it turns out Subud is a guy from Indonesia who also changed his name about 6 times, and looks identical to Barack Obama. You put the 2 pictures of the young Subud next to Barack Obama, they're like twins. And, you map one face onto the other, the dimensions fit exactly. It's shocking, actually. Now, I don't have a clue yet what this means, but I know that Barack Obama was going back into Indonesia as a child with his mother bringing him in for Lolo Soetoro. They were living in the royal section of Indonesia. They came in 1965, which is right, the heart of this coup between Suharto, who's Muslim, getting rid of Sukarno, who is Christian, killing maybe 500,000 Christians and communists in the PKI, and Obama just, blithely comes in and goes to school. Well, the schools he was going to at that time, he had to be registered as an Indonesian citizen, and he was being registered even in a Catholic school as a Muslim, because he was taking Islamic instruction, which he also lied about in 2008 running for president.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.